Ernest Lee McKinney Jr. I was born in Florence, Alabama, and my dad came back here. He taught school in Alabama, and he came back here as the principal of Booker T. I think he was here maybe 2 years, not sure. And then he started teaching in Johnson City, Tennessee. So my mom went to school here. My dad came up from South Carolina. I don't think he went here, but he taught here. I was probably 4, maybe 5, but yeah, I remember this. My grandmother, Hattie Birdwell, she was the cook. She was my mom's mother. She was my caretaker, so to speak, but I came with her. The school took me in. I think Mr. John Cox was the principal at that time. Miss Brown was here. He would take me in, and I tell people this was like my, preschool. They took me in, they taught me how to count, taught me how to spell, taught me how to write. As a little fellow. And it was good, because when I actually made that transition to elementary school, I knew my parents' names, I knew where I lived, I knew how to count, so it was kind of my daycare. That's how I look at it. And I actually did get to play a basketball game in here when it was, I guess, part of Jonesborough. 7th and 8th grade, we played basketball in this gym. This was a 3/4 court gym. And it was kind of, it was just, as growing up here and then actually being able to do things here, kind of had an impact because of the situation of what was going on. He came from South Carolina, Chesnee, South Carolina. His father, my grandfather, Jafer McKinney, and my grandmother, Kari McKinney. They moved the family from Chesnee, South Carolina to Johnson City. So that's how he came. And I'm not sure how old he was at the time, but my dad was the second oldest. So I don't know exactly how old he was when he came here, but I'm sure he was at least a teenager. He graduated from Langston High School, and I don't know the year, but he did graduate from Langston. My parents worked, so I stayed with my grandmother. And at that time, I don't think she was the real cook, but at that time, she came here, so she kept me, so I came here too to spend my days. My mother, I'm thinking she was in nursing school, and my dad was a teacher. He had taught in Alabama. Then, like I said, not finally, but he was able to get back here to be a teacher. Fred Smith was the superintendent of schools at that time, and he hired him, Jimmy Neal's dad. Just growing up, it was a different time because of, I guess, the segregation, the Jim Crow part. But my dad graduated from TSU in 1948, I believe. He taught at Swift Junior College, which is in Rogersville. My mom went to Swift. I think she finished up in high school after being in New York. She came back and finished up there. And she went to Swift. It was a junior college. I'm thinking it was a Presbyterian college. I'm not sure. I think that was it. But anyway, she finished there. She and my dad she ended up at TSU in Nashville, and Fess, well, Ernest Sr. had gone there, and so they met there, and that's how all of that got started. But they knew each other. I think they knew each other when they were here. It's just my dad, he was a few years older than my mom, but you know, God has a way to make things work regardless. I went to Dunbar Elementary School. That was, I think, in 1958, possibly. I was born in 53, so 58 or 59. I went here and then I went to Jonesborough, so Fess was not in this area, so I did not have any opportunity to be taught by him in school. But what I learned at home was probably better than what was in school, because he didn't have to fool with the bureaucracy at the house. He was in charge. Great impression on me, because my mother and my father both believed in education. Bottom line in the story. My mom was unique in that situation because, like I said, she went to LPN school, nursing school, after she graduated junior college, and then she graduated college at East Tennessee State. And as a matter of fact, she graduated from college the same year I graduated from high school. And then when she graduated from East Tennessee State, she had a degree in social work, where she had been an LPN nurse. And as we grew up, then she went back to college and was able to get her degree. I think, I never asked, I think the fact that my dad taught in Johnson City, I was able to go to Johnson City schools, at least in the elementary. And that's the part, when I went to high school, it was like, okay, if you go to Science Hill or if you go to North Side or South Side, you're going to have to pay a tuition. So that's how I was in Jonesborough. Plus, my mom being instrumental in the integration movement in Washington County. You know, how do you do that and then send your child somewhere else? You know, you made this statement, and then when it opens up, oh, well, he's going to Johnson City. No, it didn't go that way. We came here. I went to Jonesborough High, junior high, and high school. So that's how we got there. The silver lining behind that is I played with a lot of the kids that I went to school with, so we knew each other. We just couldn't go to school together. So it really didn't matter, but you still ran into different things that you shouldn't have. And this is me with education. It shouldn't matter. If you can do it, you can do it. If you can't do it, you can't do it. Do not pigeonhole me, you know. And that was one thing that I really learned from my parents, is because you have this opportunity, you need to take advantage of this opportunity, and there is no excuse. And that's how we grew up. And that was even with both grandparents on both sides. They would look at you and tell you, you have no excuse. So it wasn't like, oh, I can do what I want to. It's like they know because they've been here. And it's like my grandfather said, my dad's father, J.F. McKinney, he told me, he's like, there's nothing new under the sun. It's just new to you. I'm 72 years old, and that's true, you know, because he probably saw some stuff that I was going to see, and I have seen some stuff that my children are going to see, and I tell them, there's nothing new under the sun. It just recycles back to you. And so that's, you know, and both sets of grandparents, I think that's where I was really blessed to know both sets of parents, because they, even though they were different, they were similar because, I guess, of their experiences. I don't ever remember them being what you would call sympathetic or I see they were always, no, you can do better. Bottom line in the story, there are no excuses, you can do better. And that was from both sides of the family. So that's kind of how I got my experience. Well, perfect example, I was in college. I had a terrible semester. I mean terrible. At that time the grades came to the house, not, you didn't go pick them up in college, they came to the house. So that particular summer I came home, and I usually came home and worked during the summer. So the grades came in and I was like, hey man, you know, and I can remember Fess like, so what's going on? I was like, hey, you know, I was just trying to find myself. He looked at me and he said, no, I think you're trying to find a party. And I was like, he got that one right. So, but they never let me feel inferior about anything. It was always, reach your potential. You have potential. You have to reach it. And that's what, because of all of the underlying situations, you know, you have to be better. Was when I did come home for summer break, I always had a job, and it was not like sitting behind a desk job, working for Alfred Greenleaf, up to my knees in mud. Finally broke out to be able to drive the garbage truck. I had an opportunity when the post office was downtown. Charles Pace, Chuck's dad, he had that contract. And I remember coming home from college one day, you need to go see so-and-so, they're gonna hire you. And this was at the post office, so I cleaned up the post office. But it was jobs like that. But you're getting some type of work ethic, some type of responsibility. So that's what we had to do, you know, and it was all, you still had to get your grades, but you wasn't gonna come home and sit for 3 months. I don't know how many folks from Jonesborough did that, but I was devastated because I had always thought, oh, Langston, I'm looking forward to it. Oh, Langston, but no, and then again, I'd say is how I see it. My parents had invested so much into integration that would not work, even though that's what I look forward to. We talk about that because Faye and I graduated in the same class, and it was like, I really wish we would have gone to Langston, but we had to do what we had to do. But the one thing I can say, Dunbar prepared us for what was to come. Those teachers really took care of us. They didn't make us, but they presented us the opportunity to learn about the world, not just Johnson City, Jonesborough, but the world. And I think when I look back at it as my dad as an educator, so they knew what was going on and they tried to pour that into us. We would know what was going on, but just that change from segregation where you really wanted to be involved with Langston, and you did lose it because most of the black schools, when integration happened, most of them were shut down. So you had to go, and even in that situation, you lost a lot of your history because once that was closed, everybody just swept that to the side. But Langston, really, I mean, if you look at Langston, you look at Dunbar, you look at Douglas, and that's what you look for. I mean, you learned to go to Langston because you knew people at Langston and had a rich tradition. You didn't look to go to Jonesborough or Science Hill. Everybody had opportunity, and that's the part that I think a lot of people miss. And we were reared, and when I say we, the cousins, which is a whole nother, we were all reared to do that because the McKinney McKinneys and the Birdwells was education is the key. Bottom line in the story, I don't want to hear any excuses. And that's kind of how I grew up. It's like you take those situations, like they say, you take lemons and you make lemonade out of it. And you would be surprised how that works better than, well, I just don't want to do it. You know, especially with my brother, you know, being the mayor, he was an alderman, being the mayor. We had examples that we saw, and on both sides of the family, not just one, not just men only, picked up stuff from women only, or women, and even meeting Brenda and her parents and family, it was like the same thing. It was, you know, because I remember her mother got on me one time, and this, you know, we came in late, and I parked the car across the street, and she, next morning, she's like, why did you do that? I was like, well, no, you need to pull in the driveway, you need to, and you know, it's like, oh my God, I'm at home, you know. You know, my family, and they took me in, you know, she's got 4 sisters, and they took me in like, I'm just one of the people, you know, and I'm sitting looking at them like, you know. That's where I get my strength from. Older, I don't want to say older people, but more seasoned people. If you listen to them, they will tell you what's going on. But what you got to do is receive that, not as criticism or they're trying to get more out of me than I need to. This is how it works. And you don't realize that until you grow into it. Truly blessed, that's all I can say. Truly blessed, you know, on that part. And that's why I try to share with other people. Things can be as good as you want them to be, but you have to lead the way. You can't sit back in a pity party and think things are going to get better, because they're not. 43 years of marriage. I knew she was sick, different things, but you know, you just grow into that. It's okay, I got you. I don't have you, but I will do what I need to do to make you do. God's got you, but you know, and you just do that. Fess was sick. You know, I'd come up here and I'd tell Brenda sometimes, you know, I was like, I'm gonna stay for a couple of weeks, is that okay? Oh yeah, that's fine. Just, you know, because I remember Fess one time I was up here and he looked at me, I think I'd been up here maybe 2 or 3 weeks, and he looked at me and was like, don't you need to go home? And I was like, if you're throwing me out, I'll go. Brenda said it's okay. She got sick, and then my mom, I knew, you know, as you get older, you know, you need somebody. So it was like, I just told her one day, I was like, look, we had sold our house and we moved to apartments because we were empty nets. And it's like, what are we going to do? How are we going to do it? Well, we'll settle here and do whatever. So, you know, I would come up here and you know, it was like, Courtney had left. That was my saving grace, because she was here with Mama. And it's like, okay, you know, Raymond even said that. Raymond's like, no, Daddy, somebody needs to go look after grand. Okay, cool. So I just told her, I was like, look, when our lease is up, you can renew it. You can do whatever you need to do. I'll handle it. But I'm going to Jonesborough. I would love for you to come with me, but I know this is out of your comfort zone. And so she finally decided to come up here. So I had both of them under the same roof, which made me feel good because I can look at both of them. She had already, I guess, stage 3 liver disease or kidney. So finally they put her on dialysis and she was doing a lot better. Ain't no problem. And she was on the kidney transplant list, but she had other ailments. With Mama in her situation, you know, I just feel like God gave me, I guess, the wherewithal to see what was going on. and be able to handle that and not go crazy, I guess, for lack of a... I've just been blessed. That's all I can say. I've just been blessed. My thing is, and it was a Broadway show and I went to see that, but your arms are too short to box with God. You can't, you just got to go along with the program because I've got some friends and they'd always, oh yeah, man, shoot, you did this, you did that. I was like, yeah, you know, I'm trying to pay that forward. Maybe my kids will take care of me.
Yeah.
You know? But if they don't, I'm good. I think for the black community, it's held in high esteem. Now, I'm not sure about everybody else, but I guess that was another thing, you know, because some things happen and they try to set you up to fail, but I don't think that happened here. It's like I go back to Dunbar. Those teachers there were really interested in what we did, and they wanted to make sure that we were who we needed to be, where we needed to be. So they instilled that into you. I mean, it's just black parents and community knew what you needed and how you needed to do, and they would kind of keep you on track, even though it may be tough, but it was like, you better go in there and act like you got some sense. Go in there and act like you somebody to do this and make sure you do that. And it was not just your parent, it was everybody in that community. You know, because I can remember sometimes at Dunbar, I'd come home with my mom, well, how'd it go today? Okay, everything was cool. And then she would tell me what happened. I was like, how'd you know that? You know? And it was just like that because I think they knew what you had to do to get along in life. It wasn't like they would let you off easy. It was like, no, this is how you got to do it. So if I keep myself together, then if you act ugly or whatever, then it's on you, but be the best me that I can be. And that's something that you have to talk to your children about. We're equal, but no, we're not. They may not have liked us being here, but we kind of knew the people. It wasn't that we were just thrown into this and it's like, okay, sink or swim, but that's kind of the way it was in Nashville. Not sure, but listening to her and her contemporaries, you know, they had to, you know, you had to go in, you had to fight your way, even though we're the same. But then it's like I said, this right here gets you into a lot of trouble, and I can't figure it out other than somebody's just superficial. Is what's here. That's what I'm looking at. I don't care what's here, what's your heart. And if we can accept each other there, all the rest of this stuff is just stuff that doesn't mean a thing, you know. But Jonesborough is really a unique place, and I can remember there were some people that just didn't get it, but they were like my age now. If they were my age now, then they were born like in the early 1900s. But that's how you got to look at it, and I look at children and people today, you get into that, and you go to school with people or you deal with them, everybody's the same. It was closed down, but when I was in high school, there used to be 2 classes, and I can't think of what they were, but kids would leave Jonesborough High on a bus, come here for a class, and then go back. I can't think of what it was. I was never in that situation. They did use this building for certain class that they did. Then it was just like, we don't need this building, we'll let it fall in disrepair or whatever. But that was basically it. And the sad part, as far as I know, sad part is most black schools after integration just fell into disrepair. They was just like, we'll let it go. instead of, why don't you do something with it, something going, or to at least, but it's like now. But it was good stuff that went on here. Do you think, this is my question, is get people thinking, do you think these schools would be open if nobody got anything out of it? Bottom line in the story, they would not be. I really don't know, but I think they were probably happy about it because, like I said, this is something that the black community in Jonesborough can rally around. Bethel Church used to have Thanksgiving dinners here. This was the dining, and they had tables and stuff set up. The kitchen was over here, and the second, blacks and whites, Thanksgiving dinner, usually before the Sunday before Thanksgiving. This place would be packed with people. My grandparents that lived on Main Street, they had their 50th wedding anniversary here. It meant something to the community. I mean, this is where you went, nobody fussed, said anything about it. It's like, okay, this is what we're gonna do, this is how we're gonna do it. And they had their anniversary here. I remember that. I think I was like 7 or 8 years old then. It's like all other things in the community. If something was going on, then it was good. I can remember out here, it used to be a flagpole out there. This was kind of grown up at the time, but it would be like the kids from the county would play the kids from Jonesborough in softball at recess. You know, I mean, just had, and it wasn't anything detrimental. It was just, this is how we decided to divvy it up. And kids would be playing and nobody would be fussing, and you didn't have all of this drama, I guess, as the kids say now. You know, but yeah, I mean, this was a vocal point of the community, and I am really glad that the town did revitalize it, because this place was going down. I mean, you know, and they did whatever to bring it back. And the McKinney Center, you know, my brother and my dad, my mom, I don't think there could be a better recognition.